watching News Talk with Julia Cosby at International News Channel. India's Citizenship Amendment Act, known as CAA, is still the talk of the town in our part of the world. Recently, Chicago City Council voted against the resolution critical of CAA. Many members of the council felt uncomfortable in voting in favor of the resolution because we don't know the ins and outs of what's going on there and the grounds of India.
I have to say no because I don't have enough information to say yes to go against somebody that I trust.
The resolution was rejected by a 26-18 vote.
Your Honor, there are 18 yeas and 26 nays.
The resolution fails.
Lightfoot said it is for the federal Biden administration to make the comments or to pass judgment on such issues, not for the local city governments. Chicago-based eminent Indian American Dr. Bharat Bari welcomed the decision of Chicago City Council.
But think of this. Think of if we take this on, why not take on the Chinese Uyghur ethnic cleansing conflict debate? Why not deal with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? How about Boko Haram in Nigeria and the exploitation of women and the raping of women and pillaging of villages? And we go on, because there's many, many issues that I think are important. We are a global city. I consider us a global city. But we have many pressing issues here at home that need our attention. And I love to debate these issues. I love the area of international affairs. I studied it and I love it. But I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, this is a place that I think we could hear a resolution and be pro or against it, but not divisive. I would be remiss if I don't recognize the fact that we've done many resolutions in this council. Apartheid is different than this. I don't equate those two. I really don't. That's why I can't support it. I think we ought to be uniting our communities and getting them together to talk about their own conflicts and
In 2019, the parliament in India took on an important task of amending the Citizenship Act of India of 1955. This law does not take away anyone's citizenship who is already a citizen of India, as some vested interest politically motivated groups will have you believe. I am joined with a few Indian Americans who would like to know their take on this issue. First, I'd like to invite Amita Mittal. He is the General Secretary of World Hindu Council of America. Chicago is a sanctuary city. This line was used by supporters of the resolution. How would you reply to this?
Chicago is a sanctuary city. I hear that a lot. There are many cities popping up and calling themselves sanctuary cities in the United States. It's a recent phenomenon in the last 3-4 years. India is a sanctuary country for thousands of years. You go in the history of India, or a Hindu India has been a sanctuary country for so many years, so many people. Before this concept of sanctuary city popped up in somebody's brain, like I said, they know. So good. Welcome, America. You're finally waking up and, calling cities, calling themselves sanctuary cities.
What's your message to other cities in the USA where similar resolutions might have been pushed with this issue?
My message to the other cities where this resolution, similar to the one that was proposed in Chicago, we had an opportunity in Chicago to educate and get the reality of this resolution. What it actually has in it is a hate-filled, divisive resolution, which singles out India as a place where human rights are violated. Like India is the only country in the world where human rights are violated, and it picks on and divides people on the basis of religion. While the job of these cities where it passed, the leadership should be uniting people, bringing them on the same platform, and trying to resolve issues instead of creating issues. The other cities where it passed had a smaller city council, members ranging from 11 to as small as 6. They read the first line of these resolutions, which reads, "And to congratulate India and they think they're congratulating India. They don't go into the details of it, what it's actually doing. And in Chicago, we had an opportunity because it's a larger council, 50-member council, and has procedures where such resolutions get tabled at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, whereas in the other cities, the resolution has no time limit. They were just proposed and they passed because, like I said, there's a smaller council who doesn't get a time to actually read into what the resolution actually says and does.
In your opinion, what do you think the push for this resolution will actually do for these cities?
The push for this resolution is coming from, Council for Islamic Relations in America, which I think should focus on the American Islamic relations and harmony, while there are so many, misinformation going about the religion, and try to take that as their topic. That is their core of their mandate is, according to themselves in their charter. But they're picking up this at the behest of people who are trying to create political unrest in India. They're not happy with the Narendra Modi government for the last 6 years. And by passing these resolutions, they don't have a greater impact in the United States, as many would point out. What this does is it gives a message to population in India, hey, look, India is an oppressive country under the leadership of Narendra Modi. America is laughing at you, which is, this whole thing is made up to create that narrative in India, and a narrative in the United States that how terrible the people of India are. And these both are, in my opinion, something that is not good for the humanity.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined with Sachin Thipanti, who is a software engineer based out of Chicago. Thank you for joining us. What led you to oppose this resolution?
I think the main thing is misinformation. So this resolution was based on a lot of misinformation, and it was creating a kind of a polarization between the societies. Any kind of misinformation could lead to any kind of hate crimes, right? That's what is happening in the world. So that was triggering my mind, and I thought this should not be like in the city. We should not be like dealing with such kind of hate resolutions in Chicago City.
Why do you think this resolution is so important for Indian Americans, and how is it diversive?
Actually, one important thing, like South Asian community lives in Chicago or in America for many years. There might be conflicts, there might be differences of opinions because of their own South Asian conflicts and everything. But we don't bring those conflicts in the city. Here we live with peace and harmony. So I think it was not good for South Asian community as a whole. So that is one of the things I would like to say. That's why it is divisive.
Well, since it's been defeated, what does this mean for Indian Americans?
It means a lot in my understanding. I think if Indian Americans speak up, and if they have good context in society or in local officials, I think any kind of hate campaign, any kind of resolution like these, which creates a divide between the society, it could be stopped. So this is a big message to all the Indian Americans living in America.
What have they wanted to achieve by this resolution?
I think the narrative, because one fringe group wants to create a divide between the society, and that's their win, because once they create a divide, then they can capitalize on it. They can do more such kind of stuff. They can push their narrative amongst the society. So I think that's what they wanted to achieve, in my understanding. There was nothing positive they're going to achieve. It is just about the fake narrative.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We're joined with another fellow from Chicago. His name is Kieran, and he is a network and security engineer. Thank you for joining us today. How crucial is it to build up relationships with local government bodies, and how can these resolutions be put on hold?
I think it is very crucial. 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 I think it is very
I would say it's very crucial to build good relationship with your local council members because in order for you to put your perspective in front of them, in order for you to put the facts and provide them statistics and details to them, it's very important because the aldermen and alderwomen and the council members are very busy in their day-to-day lives and activities which they conduct and it's not easy to get in touch with them. So if you build a good bonding and good relationship with them, it becomes a little easier for you to put your points and also the facts. And they're very humble and polite people. And it's also good to be connected to the community and local issues.
So how would you stop such a resolution in the future?
I would say educate your council members, keep them posted what's happening in India, provide them facts, provide them details, and you can connect to them with certain organizations who are doing a very good job and who disseminate information in an unbiased manner. Uh, that's one of the very good ways to stop future resolutions, which is non-factual like this one.
What should Indian Americans do in regards to stopping American politicians in Indian internal matters?
Indian Americans, yeah, definitely can communicate with the local government bodies, and they should often communicate with each other and come together, work as a peaceful. I mean, we are a peaceful society. We are living in a peaceful society, and Indian American communities are believe in harmony and spreading love, and not. We don't want any divide in the local in the local societies and so I would say talk to your local bodies and keep in touch with them and provide them details that will help us stop such resolutions or bring such resolutions going forward.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined here with Shishit Shetty, who is a mechanical engineer based out of Chicago. What is the most revealing experience in this advent to defeat the resolution?
Well, we had a lot of insightful moments in this whole fiasco. A lot of unexpected things happened. Just to name a few, we had one of these journalists from Al Jazeera call in with a proxy name during one of the city council meetings and lie about things that are happening in India. We knew that this particular journalist was working closely with the sponsor of the resolution, and we had earlier interacted with him. So it was pretty revealing to see that he used a proxy name at a city council meeting. Not just that, we even complained about this whole situation with the sergeant, and he was then disallowed to speak at the city council meeting. In another instance, we had a lot of callers call in from the other side and speak the exact same script, which we were not very surprised because now it was not just misrepresentation, it was also bad homework on their part. We investigated into the 24 organizations that the sponsor claimed was supporting this resolution, and we realized that most of these organizations were either defunct or not based in Chicago or just mere Facebook pages. So that was, again, very conniving on their side. They were also claiming that they had endorsements from some businesses, which when we investigated found that these businesses never really endorsed this particular resolution. So yeah, pretty eye-opening.
How did you conduct these investigations?
So, well, we reached out to these organizations. So, for example, the businesses that they claimed were endorsing them, we reached out to them, we spoke to them. We were of the point of view that we would like to these businesses and clarify that this resolution is misleading and is polarizing, and it's something that we should not pursue. And while we were conversing with these businesses, we realized that these businesses never really endorsed this particular resolution.
Why do you think the resolution was so self-contradictory coming from Chicago City Council?
Well, the Chicago City Council is a huge supporter of immigrants, persecuted minorities. People and the representatives in this particular city council root for people coming through the south border in this particular country. However, they do not like it when the Indian government does it. So they are not very appreciative of the Citizenship Amendment Act, which allows persecuted minorities to get citizenship in an expedited manner. Now, these minorities came to India before 31st December 2014, obviously. On the other hand, the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, which now lets federal laws seep into the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, gives rights to LGBT community, gives rights to women, which the city council is opposing. So it's pretty confusing to me, and I don't understand why would a city council in a progressive city like Chicago oppose something like this. They oppose the rioters of Capitol Hill, and in the same breath, they sort of support the rioters at Red Fort. So it's pretty political in that sense.
Do you believe that there are any lessons learned?
Obviously. We should definitely establish good communication with the representatives and the officers and the aldermen in the city council right away. It's never too late. I say so because these resolutions are sort of covertly passed, and you would never know that such a resolution has propped up in your city unless you know representatives in your respective city councils. Also, there will be a lot of false equivalences done. They will say that there are things like apartheid happening in your country, which even in Chicago, some of the aldermen had strong opposition to, using words like that. So you should know and you should read well about the issues that are happening in India. And the undertone is very specifically very Hinduphobic in nature. The hate is not against hateful things that might be happening across the world. Rather, it is a hate against the mandate of people of India. It is the hate against the government of India and hate against Narendra Modi. So that's the undertone.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now, to conclude, we're joined with Richa, who is a writer and human rights activist based out of Colorado. Thank you for joining us, Richa. How relevant do you see such resolutions tabled in American City Council talking about India's internal matters?
So I think you've asked a very pertinent question. I think this has been flummoxing us and, like frustrating us as to how relevant are these resolutions that are scolding India for actually, really good human rights laws, and like a CAA is a human rights law, it helps refugees come in. Then there's the farmers, bill, which again is approved by the Biden administration as a good step in the right direction. It has been approved and appreciated by the WTO. So, some of the points that were raised in these resolutions, first of all, were not right. But what is the point? Even Lori Lightfoot, who's the mayor of the city of Chicago, eventually said that, she has no authority really to talk about these issues when a press reporter asked her and tried to pin her into saying, why did this resolution fail? So she said, she would want to defer to the Biden administration because it's a matter of another country 8,000 miles away, and they really do not know what is the ground reality. So to your question, I really think that, it's happening across the United States that certain city councils unknowingly are indulging in this, thinking their constituents are asking for it, but there is no room for this kind of resolutions to come on board. Chicago, in fact, I heard in 150 years, there's never been such a resolution tabled in Chicago. So, which scolds a country or, tries to tell a country what exactly to do, because it's a city council. It works for the 3 million people who live there. So really, I think to say in one word, the answer is no.
Yeah, I think with what you're mentioning with Lori, the mayor, and a lot of some of the quotes from the city councilors, they're talking about like China and other countries, like how is this really relevant to our municipalities, right? So it's not. Since the resolution got defeated, what's your message to other cities in the USA where similar resolutions might be pushed?
Yes, so this has been a huge step in the right direction, and much congratulations to the Chicago Indian American team that was really working on this. They were simply volunteers. They were the David fighting the Goliath, because we were working against a big machinery that has, really tried to push this resolution across 8 different city councils. And because of the COVID situation, and because of the second fact that the Indian Americans are largely focused on their work and home and careers, they really, have not participated as much in the political arena. So it was very easy for these people to sneak in that resolution, given that COVID and given the fact that we are hardly present in the city council or in the political engagement arena. So 7 or 8 city councils have passed this resolution, and Chicago, because it's had this civic engagement for a long time, they were able to really come together as volunteers and fight this big machinery, and much kudos to them. And the big message I have for everybody is that we as Indian Americans can no longer ignore this. We have no way that we can ignore this civic engagement, political engagement. The important thing is for everyone to go and meet up with their councilors. This has happened in certain city councils and certain counties where people are talking to their representatives and saying, if anything like this is brought to you, please engage with us, because it does not represent the complete voice of the Indian American constituency in your area. So that has helped in certain areas where people, the councilors are alerted in advance, and we need to do that across the country. That is what I think.
Do you have any conclusive remarks?
I have worked with other organizations, and what I have found is that these have repercussions on even our next generation. So, a lot of Indian Americans are like, we are not the political minded people and things like that, But what's happening is this goes into the media, it becomes part of history, the resolution, if it's passed. And then when students in the colleges and even middle schools, I have seen this, they are being asked to write essays on India and how, these resolutions are discussed in school. Right? So that is even more insidious, because our children are going to be brainwashed into thinking in the wrong direction about India. And it's also sort of a systemic bullying, right? Because, these children, they have a strong affinity to India through their parents, through their grandparents and whatnot. So that, I think, is one of the most important points I wanted to make, that they really have to start engaging. And the second point I want to make is that, this machinery is actually not working in an isolated manner. Like, it's not like Chicago. When I spoke to an alder in Chicago, and I don't want to name names, but he said to me, he was sort of convinced that, when I presented to him all of the laws that they were bringing up and the issues they were bringing up in the resolution, he said, I can understand this, but go talk to Shama Sawant in Seattle. And I was like, Seattle City Councilor, what does she have to do with Chicago, a resolution in Chicago? So the point I'm trying to make is that, this is not an isolated, team working in Chicago. It's a big machinery that's trying to work against the Indian Americans. And there have already been hate crimes happening in Seattle. We've seen something in Canada. We've seen something in California, So we really need to be alert as Indian Americans to make sure that, we don't let this sort of juggernaut continue to attack us, because India, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter to India. It's a non-binding resolution. But for Indian Americans living here, it's impacting us across generations.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your opinions and your views. Thank you for watching today's special News Talk edition with Julia Cosby at the International News Channel.